GNC-552. It's Monday, February 15th, and you're listening to the Geek News Central podcast, sponsored by GoDaddy.com. Geek News Central is a prominent of the Tech Podcast Network. Haven't got a great show for you. Very early recording here in Honolulu because I've got to get on an airplane. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. You know what comes next? Strap in. Here it comes.
All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're go fly.
Microphone.
We're go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right, I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There is no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Aloha and welcome to the Geek News Central podcast, coming to you as live as it can be from the beautiful state of Hawaii via the Geek News Central studio overlooking Greater Oahu. Hey everyone, it's a beautiful Monday afternoon in Honolulu. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. 80 degrees, trade winds, not a cloud in the sky. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. And you know what I have? I have black shutters in my room to cover up all the windows so I can record this show during the daylight. My wife says, "Are you crazy? It's a beautiful day. Why are you covering up the windows?" And I say, "Well, I got to set the mood, honey. It's got to be a certain way." And, the only way I can replicate the nighttime show is by cover up the windows. So subsequently, the temperature in here is going up, 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 up. And I'm sure by the time the show is done recording, I'm probably going to have sweat dripping off my brow. So it'll be kind of fun to watch for all of you that are on Ustream. Hey, welcome everyone to the show, of course, and I want to welcome all the new listeners. The show continues to grow by leaps and bounds. The audio portion of the show, of course, is where 99.999% of you download and subscribe, and the show continues to grow each month. It's just been an amazing ride over the last 9 months to see the new listeners come in. So if you're a new listener, hey, welcome to the show. If you're a new viewer and you're catching the show earlier on Ustream, hey, really, the best way to get this show is subscribe to it. And you can come over to geeknewscentral.com. You'll find a link to it on the second column of the website. We either Zune Marketplace, iTunes, standard RSS feed for a podcast. Make sure you get it subscribed to. You can catch me in Stitcher and all the major apps. I'm in there. Just do a search for Geek News Central, and hey, get subscribed. And that way you can listen to the show really anytime, either on your commute to work, on the bus, in your cubicle, whatever you may be doing. Don't miss an episode ever because, hey, maybe you forgot to tune in to the website. You'll be able to get the show automatically again if you subscribe to the show. Also, as a reminder, I do have a newsletter that goes out every show. It basically contains all the content that I'm going to talk about today, including links that have been submitted by listeners of the show. If you've got comments on today's podcast, you can send them to geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com, or you can send them to the voicemail hotline at +1 619 342-7365. Again, 619 is the area code, 342-7365. That line's open 24 hours a day for your comments. We do have one that came in from the last show. So you guys have been kind of lonely on the voicemail line, so don't be afraid to use it over there. And a number of emails from listeners of the show from the last podcast, of course, as well. And, of course, we got listeners from 161 countries that are tuned in. We want to appreciate to them. If you're catching me on Blip or if you're catching me on YouTube, hey, Thanks for watching, and of course we're on the Roku box and we're on TiVo and a variety of other devices as well where you can catch the show. So always look for the podcast no matter where you're basically consuming the content. And if we are not where you're at, let us know. We'll see about getting the show added so that you can get the content in your most basically the easiest consumption device. So again, audio and video for you, and I want to welcome those of you that are over here watching the show today on Ustream. So at the end of the show today, we're going to open up the lines on the Ohanasaurus here. We'll make it available for people to call in. So if you want to call in, you feel free to do so. But that's going to be at the end of the show today after we've wrapped up the regular content, and have that open for a little while for you to be able just to chat with me. Okay, lots of stuff to kind of catch up with. I have a Valentine's Day confession, though. Fellas, I was warning you. Make sure make sure you went out and got your card and your candy and your flowers and everything else. And, at the end of the week, last week, things got just insane here. Telephone calls, contracts, all kinds of stuff for negotiations for quarter 2. I'll just on and on and on and on. And I came home and, I really didn't think too much of it. Saturday I sat down and I worked on, a bunch of stuff, got a bunch of shows pushed up, or a bunch of content pushed up to Geek News Central, went through some accounting stuff. So, about Saturday, about 10, I had this feeling that I had not gotten my Valentine stuff yet. And I'm thinking to myself, I am in deep doo-doo. So my wife had fell asleep and everything was quiet around the house, and I snuck out at about 10:30, went to a local drugstore here called Long's Drugs. They're open 24 hours a day. They had candy and cards and balloons and all that stuff. So I got that all, so snuck back home and walked in the house about 11:15. And of course, she's like, "Where did you go?" Nowhere. I didn't go nothing. I was just checking something in the car. So I was good for Sunday morning, but it was one of those situations where you just you don't want to be in. So I hope the rest of you were prepared, and of course, my wife's being Japanese, it's kind of a reverse role here, because in Japan the ladies always give guys the most of their Valentine's Day treats on Valentine's Day. Then the guys reciprocate a week later, and took her out to dinner and everything on Sunday. We did American style, so we had a good time. But anyway, I'm headed to Texas tonight. I fly out, get into DFW at about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I go Honolulu. I leave Honolulu at 11 p.m. tonight, get into Denver in the morning, catch a connecting flight, go down to Dallas, and then I have a business in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Just going to be in real quick, boom, boom, in and out. I'll be back home here in Honolulu on Friday. So the Thursday show will be from the road. Got the road gear packed up, ready to go. Still have to pack my suitcase, so that, of course, for a short trip like this, no big deal. But we'll have a regular show probably about 8 p.m., whatever time zone Texas is in, and be down there getting ready to head home for Friday. Saturday morning, we're actually Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. We're going to be having our Tech Podcast Roundtable. We've got a couple of great guests lined up. One of us from Nuance, and I think you're going to be excited to hear what they have to say about some of their improvements to their products. And then Jeffrey's got a couple more. He hasn't emailed me yet who's actually attending, so I got to get those lined up. But he assures me they're great. So anyway, join us at techpodcast.com at 4 p.m. on Saturday. 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, for that live event. Of course, that's hosted by our good friends at GoToMeeting. So what else is going on here? Hey, we continue to get more of the content still. I'm still pushing stuff up from what was left over from the Consumer Electronics Show, and I'm down to about 40 videos to get online. They're all up on Blip, and they're all up on YouTube, but I officially got to get them up on the website. And hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have those done. I've just got to knock them out, and still getting lots of traffic to them on all those websites. Hey, I want to thank those of you that are contributing toward my salary replacement plan. I got a couple new people that have actually contributed monthly to that, and a couple of renewals. Thanks to you folks for that. Definitely appreciate it. And I guess that's where it leads us into getting into the actual how we pay bills here. And if you guys notice, over in Geek News Central, I wrote up an article talking about GoDaddy and their dedicated server offering. And they actually have a pretty cool service that I started using. And it probably was because I don't have a lot of, when I first went from a shared hosting account to a dedicated server, I did not have what you would call the skills necessary to run a server all by myself. So I wrote up a little bit of an article on their server-assisted plans and assisted service plans, which I know I use, Andy McCaskey uses, and it's really a great service. So I have a link up to that in the show notes for you to check out. But really, GoDaddy's been a long-time sponsor here of the show, and I often get asked why I use their products and services, and that article is one of the many reasons I use their products and services. But if you're looking for a domain name, if you're looking for a virtual dedicated server, grid hosting, whatever it may be, when you get to the checkout counter over there at GoDaddy, don't forget your Geek here at Geek News Central, because I got some great promo codes for you, some that you won't find anywhere else. My Geek Buy, 15% on orders just as low as $20. So you have a $20 order, you use that Geek 5 code to save 15%. Of course, the Todd code will save you 10% on non-domain orders. Todd 20 will save you 20% on a 1-year shared hosting account. So in other words, you got to sign up for a year, pay for a year in advance, you get 20% off by using that Todd 20 code. Or ComSale will get you .coms on new domains and renewals at $7.49. Of course, we want to thank our good friends over at GoDaddy here. They help keep the lights on, literally. They really do. And without them, really, this show would not be able to grow the way it has in the years past. And I want a big thanks to GoDaddy.com. I hope that you'll support them for supporting this show and the many shows that they do support currently on the internet. So what else have we got here for you? I often get teased that I don't use GoToMeeting a lot because I travel a lot. And I actually do. I use GoToMeeting as much when I'm on the road as when I'm at home. And sometimes you have to go meet with people in person. But really, there's been times when I've been in the middle of a conversation with someone and they just didn't understand, or I wanted to show them something in a document or go through a PowerPoint. Really, this is where this application is hands down the best. Meeting with one person or 25, you can get them all in the same session, go through the information. So whether you're on the phone or just trying to, talk about something visually, you can load up GoToMeeting and they can see what you see on your computer screen. They can see what you see on their computer screen, and you can show them what you're talking about. And, of course, I use GoToMeeting. You guys know I do, and I use it all the time. Matter of fact, sometimes I leave it open, and it's just like this collaborative tool I use with people that I'm meeting with, 3-4 people bounce in and out throughout a day for sessions. And the great thing is it comes with a voice IP application as well. So really, you've kind of got like its free phone conferencing service as well. And I just leave my little microphone up here on the top of the screen, and that's what I use. You can get a free 30-day trial. GoToMeeting.com/tech-podcast. That's GoToMeeting.com/tech-podcast. Again, for a free 30-day trial. And thanks to GoToMeeting here for being a longtime sponsor of the show. We definitely appreciate it. And again, just like GoDaddy, a great sponsor here of the podcast. Okay, let me go ahead here. Those of you that are on Ustream, I'll be peeking once in a while at the chat window. Won't be able to do it a lot because we're going to get into the regular show content here. Again, if you have content or information that you want to share with me or have comments on today's show, send me an email to geeknews@gmail.com. Call the voicemail hotline at +1 619 342 7365. All right, let me go ahead here and cue this other piece up. Let's see if I can do this without losing track myself. First article I have up tonight is from the Los Angeles Times in their business section. It's talking about Apple wanting to wrap digital books in fair play copy protection. So if you expected to, get digital books in any form in the iPad, in any type of DRM-free measure, you're not. If you're going to buying digital books through Apple, either for the iPhone, iTouch, or even the iPad, they're all going to be wrapped in DRM, sadly. And with that comes the same type of restrictions that they used to have on some of their music format before they finally figured out that music being encrypted with fair play was not the way to go. So DRM once ahead and raises its ugly head in the digital space, and it's going to be this time on digital books. So I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise, really. Today, a few of the hackers out there that are responsible for some of the actual hacks to basically jailbreak the iPhone, they have essentially been banned. A few of the guys have been finding that they've logged into their, basically tried to get an app updated, and there's a message that comes up that says this Apple ID has been disabled for security reasons. So Apple's playing hardball with all these guys that are coming up with exploits for the iPhone. And, I don't know why these guys did this, but I had to laugh because the one guy said, well, what's kind of weird here is that my Apple ID, hang on a second, I'll move something here. think I figured out where I got a little background noise coming from, and I thought I had it solved before the start of the show. And in my rewiring of the office, I have one one device right here that's cable cord is crossing some cables that I just have to put it in a new spot. So I just heard it start humming, so I had to move it so it wouldn't drive me nuts the rest of the show. But anyway, these guys were using their real email addresses that was linked to all the articles that they were writing about jailbreaking. And of course, so Apple put two plus two together and said, "Oh, here we go. Let's ban these guys." So now these guys are going to have to get some iPhones that are tied anonymously to them in order to continue getting access to the rest of the stuff on the App Store. I'm sure that's really going to prevent them, and we'll be curious to see what happens in the future with that. All right, when I was out at CES in January, of course, the big thing was mobile digital TV. And we're starting to see devices being launched for mobile digital TV. And right now, broadcasters are ramping up. They're spending between $75,000 and $150,000 to get their stations ready for mobile digital TV. So if you live in Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle, Washington, many of the broadcasters in Washington, D.C., many of those broadcasters are ready to launch mobile digital TV. And you'll have to have a device. Usually, per monthly charge to get this content. A prototype, we saw a number of prototypes out there from LG, from all the mobile carriers. You're going to start seeing this embedded in your mobile devices as well. Of course, the Japanese have been doing this for a long time, and they will watch TV on their portable devices. So the first devices in April are going to run a couple $100 to get, and you're basically going to be able to watch TV on the roll. Now, I don't think, based upon our consumption habits of local television programming, that it is going to be such a big a deal as it is in Japan. Here in the United States, many of you have DirecTV, you have Dish, you have cable, you've got access to 1,000 channels of content. So what's going to drive you to get a device that will, essentially give you mobile digital TV when you just get your local, your NBC, your CBS, your Fox affiliates? Would that really drive you to buy a device to do that with all the offerings that are out there, this new stuff coming with Flow TV, and all the other content that's going to be available from a variety of sources, including, basically watching stuff over your 3G connection on your mobile devices and soon to be 4G with Verizon. Are you going to go out and spend the money for these devices? I think that probably the majority of us will wait until it's built into our existing devices, and it'll just be an extra feature. I don't know if they're going to get the bang that they're expecting out of this, because, they're saying, young folks, they consume content in a different way. Yeah, they don't consume TV on the go. They don't. I just don't see this taking off. But we'll see what happens when the signals are switched on. I don't know if this is going to threaten Flow TV, because Flow TV has a subscription service that brings you a lot of different content as compared to whatever free mobile digital TV is going to be available. Again, it's just going to be a small offering. Here in Honolulu, we've even had consolidation of our television stations. I think there's an NBC and Fox station that have actually combined. One owner owns both networks. So we'll see. It was kind of weird because NASCAR was actually was being broadcast by Fox in the mainland, but here in Hawaii it was actually on an NBC station that was owned or going through ownership with Fox. Weird deal. Really, really strange, but it wasn't where I was expecting it on the dial as I was watching the race yesterday, at least a little bit of it. So I don't know. What do you guys think? This is going to be a game changer? Are you guys going to rush to go out and buy one? Will this be something that you will want to have? I don't know. I'm myself thinking it won't be as big as it is in Japan. But then again, I could be wrong. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. New York Times has an article about the convention crashers, and we saw this, and this is actually in relation to the CES show in January, talking about how many companies were having events off of the show floor in hotels. We got more invites to go to hotels, suites to see a demo of a product than I have ever in years past, and that was because many of these companies didn't want to pay the fees to actually be on the show floor. Now, right now, I'm actually looking at, for Raw Voice, going to NAB. And we're actually going to apply to have a booth down there, and we're going to have a presence there. We're going to be our generator, our portal site is starting to really take off, starting to get a lot of revenue generated from it. So we're going to be going down there and focusing on that for television, radio, people that are looking for portable media sites. And anyway, I don't want to go into the strategy too much, but we thought maybe we just go down and hang out and then meet who we could. But we really didn't think that was the appropriate way to do it. As companies did at CES, they just kind of come out. We met a lot of people on the floor that were hawking their wares, that were just down there demoing a device that weren't even a vendor, and I'm sure to the dismay of CEA. But because of the economy, many of these companies were not really playing in this, in alliance with the Consumer Electronics Association. So the CEA did not say they cracked down, but they asked hotel venues to, honor their agreements that they had with them. And but there was many companies doing smaller events, and it's really torquing off these groups are putting on multi-million-dollar events, because it's really taken the event off off the show floor and into hotel suites. Now, be honest with you, very difficult to get to those sideline events when you're focused on covering the show itself. You'd almost have to have a full team going hotel to hotel. And we said this year that we were only going to do that if a company provided transportation. And we had two companies that actually came and picked us up in company cars or whatever it may be, and took us to the hotels to meet with them. One was Seagate, and another one was a company that Jeffrey talked to, where they actually came and got us and brought us back, which saved us, the cab fare and everything else from going over to their specific hotels. But I can understand why CES was upset about this, but there's a big article about it in the New York Times. This weekend, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, for the very first time, responded to a YouTube video that has been making its way around the internet, making claims that the FDIC said was completely false. They, for the first time ever, they responded they didn't really do a video response, but they did an official, press release of sorts to basically say that the information outlined in the video was false, full of information that was not true, trying to slow down the spread of this viral video that has caused, according to the FDIC, some damage to them and their reputation. And I find this to be interesting, because here you got a government, the FDIC is not in a government agency. You've got an agency that is for a long time been very secretive, very, very quiet. A lot of people don't know about the real ongoing operations of that group. And, of course, come underneath a lot of scrutiny with all the bank bailouts and everything else has had to go on, protecting our, basically ensuring the dollars that we have deposited at these various banks. And so anyway, they've had enough, and they're going to be fighting fire with fire. They'll be curious to see if they actually have some sort of a social media strategy from this, if they actually come out and have some sort of information type of videos that they post up on YouTube or not. But kind of curious to see these old guard folks having to come out and respond and basically trying to respond the best way they know how. But this was just a statement. It wasn't necessarily a video response or anything like that, which probably would have been more appropriate and reach more people. But that would have really generated some buzz. So do you think the government should respond with social media tools? Do you think they should respond with videos up on YouTube? Do you think to dispel different types of false claims, or to set the record straight, they should be using the technologies that we're using to go after them? What do you guys think? Love to hear your comments on that, geeknews at gmail.com. Right up at the International Space Station, boy, a lot of stuff going on. They've had some hardware issues, some basically covers not matching where they're supposed to go, and so they've had a few challenges. The mission has been extended a day, but this new scenic overlook, this new observatory, the Tranquility Node, has been put in its final position. It's been on the Earth-facing side of the International Space Station. They're going to basically uncover the windows on Thursday. Basically, they can go into it right now, but they can't see outside yet because the windows are still covered up. So on Thursday, these guys are going to get a great view, I guess, from these big panoramic windows that they have installed in the Tranquility Node. Look forward to seeing the inside-outside pictures that come from that. So pretty cool observatory they've got up there. Article on Wall Street Journal by Walt Mossberg, and this will be for you Mac fans out there, talks about the many, many ways that you now can use Windows on a Mac. And he goes head-to-head with a variety of different tools, talking about different applications that can be used. He's been comparing Parallels Desktop 5, VMware Fusion 3, using to run Windows 7 on the same Mac laptop powered by Snow Leopard. And he, thus far, has said that Parallels is the best version. Now, that's what I use on my Mac Pro, is I use Parallels to run Windows 7. And a pretty good experience. I like to run it in coherence mode. Basically, I can have Windows up and running, and it really is just kind of there. And if I need to access a Windows application, it's just like one of the selections on the, I call it the taskbar. It's probably the wrong thing to call it. Mac guys are cringing right now. Or the application bar, the dock, or whatever the heck you guys call it. That is where I basically can access all my Windows applications. They just put like a start button there. You can go up there and access the application. It loads, and it's just kind of like a regular experience with using the Mac, except you're using a Windows program. It does take a little more overhead on your computer just to run Windows 7 along with the Mac OS 10. I don't run it all the time, except when I need to. But good review by Walt Mossberg on that over at the Wall Street Journal. All right, Google, of course, has really made a big impact in this announcement about bringing 1 gigabit per second fiber to 500,000 homes in the United States, or I think they're saying probably going to be more like 50,000. And the folks over at Ars Technica have a very good article talking about what Google should learn about the European Union's ISP experience with fiber, talking about open access, talking about the costs they actually incurred, some stuff that's actually going on in France, and of course the opposition to open access that Google's going to run up against by local internet service providers when they come into their towns to, basically make available something that these companies should be making available already. Seattle, the mayor of Seattle, has basically said, "Hey, we're here, we're ready. We want you to come to Seattle and put this service in." Now, personally, I want Google and all of you should submit one of those applications to Google on my behalf. Tell them that you want them to come to Makakilo, Hawaii, and install fiber to my home so I can have 1 gigabit per second. We'll run a live television station here 24/7 on the internet if we do that. But I think that this is going to be a challenge for Google. Building this stuff always looks great on paper, but then when you have to go implement it, there's always challenges. And I'm sure it's going to be a fun ride. But I'm excited to see it happen. And those that are lucky enough to get chosen, all I can say is enjoy it while it lasts, because I'm sure it's not going to be something that will be permanently there. But hey, we really need to. If we really want to take this whole evolution of new media, usage of the internet to the way it really needs to be, we need to have much more higher access speeds. There's still going to be the bottleneck. No matter what you do, the computers that are delivering the content will only be able to feed the data to your pipe or your home as fast as it basically can be served up through an Ethernet port. So that is still where there is a bottleneck. When it gets down to brass tacks, there's only so much data you can push to any individual machine or pull from any individual machine because of the limitation of this, essentially the hardware. And to say that you're going to get that type of throughput no matter what is probably not going to happen. But that doesn't mean to say that 10 people in your home or 5 people in your home using 2 computers each can't be having all types of great interactive experiences at the same time. Unlike today, where I'd like to have to tell the kids, "Hey, I'm going live. No streaming to YouTube. No, basically shut down all your high intensity applications while Dad is putting on the show." So we'll see what becomes of this, but time will tell. And as I said here, the temperature in the office continues to rise. I think we're up to about 90 right now. So may have to take off my shirt in a little while. No, I promise. The viewer count would immediately go to 0 or negative 25. So I won't go there. Right, big news out of the Federal Communications Commission, where they are poised to make the big telecoms, aka AT&T, and all the backbone carriers share their high-speed internet fiber networks with smaller companies. Now, you guys know for a very long time, companies have had to, the AT&Ts, the Ma Bells of the world, they have had to share DSL internet connectivity at the switch, but up to this point, they really have not had to share their high-speed internet fiber networks. If this becomes the case and the FCC forces this upon the big boys, which they should, because remember, many millions and billions of dollars that we have paid into these organizations have built this national infrastructure. We have actually, the American people have funded much of the infrastructure that has been laid in through a lot of the little taxes and stuff that you see on your various bills that you pay to the various utilities. So I think the FCC is within their rights to do this. I don't know if they're probably going to get their pants sued off by AT&T, saying that they're not going to do that. But the rules change will definitely have a positive effect in bringing more competition to the marketplace. And, just think about that. Think if Verizon has to share its fiber infrastructure with competitors. There could be a serious litigation there. But we'll only see if this comes to be, if the FCC makes this a rule. Small businesses would definitely benefit because they'd be able to, kind of compete and bring some products to, they have to pay fair market price for that access. Don't get me wrong, but it definitely could raise competition in our neighborhoods. Okay, news out of Verizon today is, and this is exciting to me, and anything that brings more higher speed to any of us is a good thing. The Verizon CTO says their 4G service is on track. Announcement made out of Barcelona. They said Verizon Wireless is on track to offer its 4G wireless service later this year, the company's chief technology officer said. And while they don't say where they're going to be rolling this out, said Verizon Wireless is in the final testing phase 4 of its LTE technology. And within 60 days, he says that he expects the testing to be completed in Boston, Seattle. After those trials are complete, Verizon will be ready to announce commercial deployments. And I haven't seen their deployment map. I'll have to get my hands on one of those. But at least those of you that are in the Boston and Seattle area, you're going to have the ability here soon to get Verizon LTE. And I'm excited to see that come on. 4G LTE service is going to really set a new bar for wireless access. And, we talked about before Christmas about me having the DSL connection, having my clear connection, and also having my broadband connection. My wife and I, after long deliberation, we've decided to keep all three. And I was essentially going to kill one of the services. But what we have found is that as the kids are getting older, they are consuming a lot more bandwidth, consuming a lot more. They're doing interactive games. The kids are out playing, different stuff online. And, she was complaining to me the other night she wasn't able to watch some of her Japanese IPTV stuff because the connection was slow. So what I've done is I've segregated the kids and her onto one of the connections, which are actually the kids on one connection, her onto another, then me having a separate connection, especially for the show. And that has kind of alleviated the bottleneck in the house. And so my son is always asking me, Dad, can I go on such and such network? Because I've got, basically 3 wireless networks available for them to use. And yes, call me spoiled, but when you're trying to push media the way I am right now and the amount of content that we're putting online, bandwidth is at its premium still. And it's not the download portion, really. It's the push stuff that's having challenges. And actually, I'm getting my daughter's getting ready to start her own little video thing, so it's just going to get much more worse in the amount of bandwidth we're going to consume here. So I'm kind of curious, what are you guys doing at your homes? Are you finding that as your kids are getting older, your network connections are getting bottlenecked because they're doing things, you're trying to do things, and the actual experience is becoming less satisfying for you? And if it is, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. geeknews@gmail.com. Of course, the voicemail hotline is 619-342-7365. And I don't expect all of you to be in the same situation I am, because it's kind of unique here on some of the things I'm doing in utilization of my bandwidth. But with my business connection or my business lines that are tied into this, we're pushing those babies to the max pretty much day in and day out for the stuff we're doing here. So, but I'd love to hear what you guys are, what you're doing in your homes and the experience you're having. Or is your internet service provider bringing you enough bandwidth to be able to handle that? All right, over on CNET, this is an interesting story, a hacking story. And this is tied back to a United States cyclist. A French judge has issued a national arrest warrant for U.S. cyclist Floyd Landis on hacking charges. Reading directly from the article here. Landis, 34, won the 2006 Tour de France, but was stripped of his victory and banned from competing for 2 years by the National Cycling Union after testing positive for high levels of testosterone. And the warrant that was issued from the anti-doping authorities accused Landis of hacking into one of their laboratory computers, trying to change the results of his urine tests. So this is pretty heavy stuff here for a cyclist to be accused of hacking into. This is a cyclist doesn't equate into a hacker. But did this guy pay somebody to hack into a laboratory computer to try to discredit the results? It's pretty amazing. And I'd love to hear more about this. And Landis is claiming that procedure mistakes at the lab were responsible for his positive test result. But in 2008, the National Court of Arbitration for Sports rejected his appeal. And I'm not a cyclist. I don't follow this, this doping stuff that's going on here. But pretty hefty charges, and sad if it turns out to be true. But wow, what steps someone would go to really be try to get his name vindicated. I guess it's a big deal. You get stripped of the title of Tour de France. It's not good. All right, let's talk a little bit about a little science project here. And some of this stuff scares me a little bit just because I don't fully understand it. But apparently, they've been smashing atoms together and different types of stuff. And what they have been able to create out of a, not at the Large Hadron Collider, but out at a Brookhaven National Laboratory Collider, they were able to collide some gold ions together in a 2.4-mile round magnetic ring and smash them together at nearly the speed of light. The impending impact, which happened 5 years ago, was so intense and created an amazing amount of, I guess, heat, and even though as tiny as it was, they're making this claim that this temperature was essentially the brightest thing that has ever been recorded in the universe. Now, think about this for a second. The temperature they recorded was 4 trillion degrees, or 4 trillion degrees Celsius, or 7.2 trillion degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I don't know how you measure that, but that's 250,000 times hotter than the center of our sun. Okay, I guess I figured out how hot the center of the sun is, even though, that's another good question to ask. Or about roughly 40 times hotter than the core of a Type 2 supernova. So, let me ask you all this. This happened in a laboratory, on Earth, in a community. Even though it was molecular, they're planning on doing some more testing where they are planning to push the limits of this, and they're going to be smashing lead ions together this fall, and they figure that the collision could be 2 to 3 times more energetic than the RHIC's maximum level. And they go into some serious science stuff here. Some physicists speculate that those energies, quark, gluon, plasma, would stop acting as like a liquid and start acting like a glass. So this has put the science community in a tizzy, this information that they have found, and they're rewriting some rules of some of their science expectations. But someone that knows something about this, are we like doing something that's going to like vaporize us before too long? I just, this seems pretty intense. Or at least maybe vaporize a city. Wow. Anyway, I guess they consider colliding these ions to be perfectly safe, and they know a lot more about this than I ever will, that's for sure. But I find that to be pretty interesting, that the actual temperature of this collision being 4 trillion degrees Celsius. Hell of a sunburn, wouldn't it be? All right, the best iPhone apps you've never heard of. Good article on PC World. That's true. Of all the iPhone apps that are out there, there's just literally thousands of them. How can you just, it's almost impossible to really find a lot of good apps unless someone tells you about one. And so the folks over at PC World have dug up 2 or 3, a couple of educational ones for those of you with preschool-aged children to check out, and some productivity ones as well. I have this link up for you in the show notes. All right, those of you that are living in California, California has once been blessed with another steampunk convention, this time in Emeryville, California. It's going to be happening on March 12th to 14th at the Nova. It's going to be the Nova Albion Steampunk Exhibition. This year event promises to mix in a bunch of do-it-yourself maker flavor for a greater hands-on feel. And, of course, steampunk has been gaining some pretty cool appeal, a bigger appeal as time has gone on. And it's with the continued growth of maker communities, there's going to be all kinds of cool stuff there. So this is going to be a 2-day track, and with a 2-hour how-to hands-ons, interactive workshops geared towards do-it-yourself makers and so forth, mad scientists, and those of you out there that want to create some cool stuff. So if you're anywhere in California or close to this Emeryville, California event on March 12th and 14th, might be a cool one to go to. I don't know how good it's going to be for taking kids to this, but there should be a lot of demos there and stuff on display that people have made. Should be a lot of fun. And so check it out if you're within striking distance of that. Hey, Comcast has decided to rename itself. It's now going to be known as Xfinity. 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 I don't know how they're actually going to pronounce it. But Comcast is trying to repair and restore its branding. And by renaming itself, Xfinity rebranding will it's going to be used in all of its customer service as well as technical upgrade branding. So we'll see what happens here with this. Good luck, Comcast, in the name change. And I don't know if they're going to roll it out in their entire business line or not. But I guess they're trying to have a new age type of a title, and basically deflecting some of the negative press from their acquisition of NBC. I wonder if NBC is going to be called Xfinity or Affinity. We'll see. Okay, those of you that live in the UK, good news for you. If you have got a blog and you've been linking to stuff on YouTube, you'll be glad to know, according to Tech Dirt, that UK courts are finding that simply linking to infringing video is no longer infringing. I think we all would agree to that. But this court case that was brought by the Federation Against Copyright Theft has essentially been ruled against, and the UK court is basically saying, hey, just linking to infringing content is not illegal, and that sites are free to do that without worried, basically being accused of copyright violation. All right, what else have I got in my stack here for you? Let me actually change the view for those of you on Ustream. All right, incumbents are blocking broadband stimulus efforts because they don't like competition. I don't think this should come as any surprise to any of us. We know that the $7.2 billion that have been laid out by the Obama administration for a broadband stimulus plan that was announced last year has to date really not resulted in any real projects. And part of this is because that the rules with that money is basically saying the government, anything that is done, let's say if Time Warner took some of the stimulus money, anything that was done with that money had to have some open access ties. So, of course, the Time Warners, the Comcast, or Infinity, or whatever they're called now, don't want to make any more or allow any more access to their networks than what is already being forced upon them. And so they basically have taken none of this stimulus money. Now, small companies, they're trying to get some of this to, put in projects in cities and schools and so forth like that are fought hand and tooth by these big companies. And they've been actually going into local governments and sponsoring legislation to prevent small companies from actually using the stimulus money. So, as we all kind of expected, the $7.2 billion that was to be used to bring broadband to rural areas and get broadband usage in places where there wasn't any, at this point is being roadblocked by many of the companies that provide our internet service today. So what I would like all of you to do is pay attention to what's going on in your communities, your cities, and your states, and watch the legislative process there, see what bills are being introduced to ensure that if there is some sort of a bill going forth that's going to stop companies or stop small startups from using any of the stimulus money to oppose that. Basically go out there and say, hey, I am for competition. I want more broadband access in my community. Let's take something. If they're going to offer it up, we might as well use it, right? So, of course, the big major companies don't want competition, so they're fighting this tooth and nail as to be expected. So we'll see what happens over time with this. But what's your guys' thoughts? Do you think that how much of the $7.2 billion is going to get spent? And do you guys know of any projects that are going on in your neighborhoods that are actually using any of the money whatsoever? Love to hear back from all of you. Of course, geeknews@gmail.com, and your opinion is welcome on this as well. Let me go ahead and switch back to this other camera. That view's better, yeah? News from NASA. Spirit has been parked for the winter. Really, it's not much choice. Mars rover Spirit has reached its final parking position on the Martian's surface prior to upcoming winter season may go into hibernation. Of course, the rover controllers had hoped to reposition the rovers as well. One of them, is stuck in the sand, is not going anywhere, and may actually lose contact for several months as it goes into like this very minimal emergency state to conserve power. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll keep you advised, but the rovers are getting ready for their winter over. I don't normally link to articles on our forums over at blueberry.com, but I know we have a number of podcasters that actually listen to this show. And one of the guys was asking about hosting their media with Blip. As you guys know, I have a lot of the videos that we took at the Consumer Electronics Show. Flash videos are actually up on Geek News Central, are actually encoded, and the Flash is being served up by Blip.tv. They do a great job doing that. I have no issue whatsoever with their service. They do a fabulous job. But the question that was asked, what Blip does is, if you're a pro customer, they provide you with a link where you can actually put in your RSS feed the actual M4V file that would be for an iPod or for a different or for an Apple TV or whatever it may be. So you would download, just like you guys are downloading my show. So they were asked. My wife is in here. What were you going to ask me? Huh? Someone ordered a pizza for me. Was it already paid for? Huh? Did someone order me pizza? My wife is coming in. Let me see who was it. Roy or who? I have to look in chat. Did someone order me a pizza that's on Ustream? This is too funny. I'll watch the chat here for a second. Well, if you ordered me a pizza, thanks. Well, they didn't pay. Oh, then that's the number that ordered it? Oh, they didn't. Well, send it back. Yeah, I didn't order. Let me hold on to this. I've got someone's telephone number here that ordered a pizza for me, but they didn't pay, huh? Isn't that funny? Oh, that wasn't cool. Someone ordered a pizza and had it delivered here and didn't pay for it? Not cool. Okay, anyway, so going back to Blip. The RSS feed is when that media gets downloaded into, I got all kinds of stuff going on here. Hang on. I think we had a battery going dead. When you have, when you actually link to the video, the media on Blip, when it gets downloaded, when it loads up in your iPhone, it gives like these series of numbers like 767892116 alpha GBZ alco 926 underscore, and then the title of your media .m4v. That is how it actually displays in the iPhone. So I'm basically telling people, if you're going to use Blip, it's great for Flash, but don't use the media that's going to be downloaded by your listeners or viewers to listen to your iPad, because it's going to be all hokey. You know, you have to kind of suck it up and actually, find a hosting service where you actually have the ID3 tags written in the video and you actually have the naming conventions right to make it a better viewing experience. So what I just really want, of course, we started here 5 minutes ago in this conversation, I get interrupted on the pizza thing, is that if you are going to serve media up in your RSS feed as a podcaster, do it with media that you control, and you can actually control the naming structure and ID3 tag and so forth. So a long story on that. I'll share it in the show notes. You guys can see the link. So, yeah, not cool for whoever ordered pizza. Not cool at all. If you're going to order pizza, you pay for it. I got your telephone number. I'll be calling you after the show. All right, first look on Windows Phone 7 Series hands-on demo. Of course, Windows 7 was announced today for their phones. Everyone's pretty impressed so far. Microsoft has really rolled out a huge press parade on this. They've got a 22-minute, 18-second video up on Channel 9 that really talks about all of the features of the new iPhone. Excuse me, new mobile phone, not iPhone. Jeez. And if you guys haven't seen, it's just really, this picture doesn't do it any justice. Let me bring it up. But what it kind of looks to me as I was watching this video, it takes some of the almost like the Zune interface and kind of ties that in, and it kind of takes some of the functionality of what the iPhone functionality is and ties it in. I think they've done a really good job on the Windows 7 phone platform. I think they've really, they're going to have integrated social networks like Facebook. They're going to have an Explorer, of course, photos, videos, music, email and texting, GPS and map, search integration, and of course, this is going to be on a variety of different phones. And so we'll see what happens with this. But if you're a Windows Phone 7 or a Windows Phone user, you'll definitely want to check this video out, see what's forthcoming, and probably won't see these phones for a while because they're not expected to be on the market till later this year. So nothing like my wife coming in and like messing me up, but it torques me about that pizza. Oh gosh, if someone pays for pizza and sends it here, it's cool. You give them kudos, right? But it's probably one of those individuals that were messing with us a couple of weeks ago on one of our live events. It was recorded early, and I'm looking here in the chat. No one's making any comments. So they've got a breakdown too between Windows Mobile 6.5, Windows Mobile 6.53, and the Windows Phone 7 series on different functionality that they'll have that linked up in the show notes. How many of you have ever messed with Bug Labs with the bug. Have you guys ever done any messing around with that? Have you ever building programs or apps? Have you that's kind of like the Erector set for adults. Lots of cool stuff you can do with Bug Labs. But Bug Labs has introduced Bug 2.0 platform with a faster processor, Android support, and they've actually cleaned the bug up a little bit. And this is over on Engadget. I'm pretty excited about this because the geek in all of us wants to really play around with one of these. And what they're also going to not only are they going to have the Cortex A8 base OMAP core, but you're actually also going to be able to run Android on this as well. So you can build apps via Android too. So that's going to be really cool. I think that's really going to increase the user base and people that are building apps and different types of tools for the bug. And if you're not familiar with Bug Labs, you'll definitely want to check them out. We've had several interviews with them over the years at CES and a variety of other venues. But I'll have this link up in the show notes for you to check out. Novel idea. Put Wi-Fi on school buses and see how it affects the kids that are traveling to school. There's here in Hawaii, the buses don't really drive too far. They pick the kids up, and within about 10 minutes, they're at school. They're really short routes. So I don't see really a need to put Wi-Fi on buses here in our local community just because of the short hauls that they have for the kids. But when I was going to school, and I was raised in Michigan, it was about a 50-minute bus ride for me to get to school. And, of course, we had nothing to do but pick on our neighbors and, and have, do the stuff kids do on a bus. But Arizona schools have found that students suddenly have chilled out and have gotten productive when they put Wi-Fi on the buses. So really what they've allowed them to do is surf the internet on their way to school. Now, I could see where this could have its own issues. And I'm sure this Wi-Fi is probably locked down, because I know if I was away from home and a young adult and I had access to Wi-Fi and my buddies and I were sitting in the school bus seat, what would we be doing? Probably going to sites that we probably shouldn't be going to. And so anyway, they've loaded AutoNet Mobile on some buses in Arizona. And we actually covered AutoNet Mobile last year at CES. And, I'm sure they're going to be putting all kinds of filters on that. But very cool stuff here. Putting Wi-Fi on school buses to get our kids more productive going to school, and hopefully not doing stuff that they, quote-unquote, shouldn't be doing on a school bus. That'll be the next thing. Kids finding their way around and going to sites that school administration has no idea where they're going to, and somebody being offended and kids being kicked out of school for, going to porn sites and so forth while they're riding the bus. How many of you have a bunch of film slides? How many of you old school has film slide projector still? How many even know what a film slide is? Well, I've got several boxes of film slides, and the folks over at Gizmodo, and I got to just share this with you guys. This is just a cool thing. Take old film slides and give your windows a stained glass effect. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, that's cool. What a great idea. What a great idea for a geek's room. And I wouldn't put this in my kitchen, but I could see having one of these in my office. And what they've essentially done is they've taken just regular slides, photo slides, and they've meshed them together and basically hung it as a drape in front of a window and kind of made like a stained glass window out of your old pictures. And if nothing else, people come to the door and they'll stare at it for a while. But it's really cool. It really is. And I could see where a small business would actually do well and take your old slides and make you some drapes and stuff like this. So I think it's going to be a cool thing to do. A great idea by someone, and something that would be a good weekend project here for the old Geek News Central office. Now, those of you who have Macs, you all have the ability, you all have the, not the ability, but the magnetic power adapter, right? So the magnetic power adapter on the Macs have probably kept many Macs from being yanked off tables as cords have been tripped on. This office, for goodness sakes, I got stuff stacked everywhere in here. And already there's trip hazards. When the show's going live, there's cables everywhere. on all corners of the room. And when people walk in here, I'm always telling, be careful, don't trip over the cable. And really, there's no laptops in danger, but there are definitely some cameras and some lights and so forth. But there's a do-it-yourself magnetic power adapter will keep your laptop safe. And you need an existing power cord and about $32 in materials, and you can build your own. And this may just save your laptop from getting yanked off the table when someone trips over the cord. And pretty cool stuff here. Real easy to make. And you have to follow the instructions on the website. This is available over at instructables.com. I'll have the link up in the show notes for you there on that. But this is really cool. And I'm definitely going to be doing this for a couple of the devices I have here because they have a tendency to always get bounced around because of someone tripping on a cord. But, yeah, that's at what point, though, I think Apple has a patent on that functionality of the Mac Pros or the MacBooks. So I don't think you're going to see that come onto any other manufacturer's computers for a while. But I must admit it is a cool feature for the Macs. But now you can roll your own on your own PCs. Let me look at the time here. Oh, we're running long. Today, the wholesale application community, and I didn't even know this community existed. The wholesale application community is declaring war on Apple. And this is made up of a variety of different mobile carriers, including AT&T, China Mobile, Dutch Telecom, NTT, Docomoco, Verizon Wireless, as well as 3 major OEMs. They've decided to form an organization that's going to basically allow some consolidation of standards for mobile apps. Right now, if you want to do a mobile app, you have to build it for the iPhone, you have to build it for the BlackBerry, you have to build it for a Nokia. There is no one programming language or instructables that you can roll one into all. So, their goal here is to unite a fragmented marketplace by creating an open industry platform that will serve as a single path to market for mobile applications, regardless of which platform the app runs on. And I applaud this. This will be huge if they can get this off the ground. They'll never get Apple to agree to it for sure. They have too much of a lock on their infrastructure, and they're siloed all those app developers in there. But if you can get an app to run on an Android, BlackBerry, any Nokia devices, the Windows Mobile, if you can have one app that will go on all of those devices, it could force Apple to make a change. It really could. A good article here. I got my good friends with Jim Lauterbeck. Talk with him from time to time. He's got a guest article over on GigaOM talking about cable is saved. And this is in response to the article that I talked about on the last show, where only 8% of a polled number of people have agreed that they would be willing to give up their television subscription in lieu of live video. And of course, Jim is kind of jaded on that, like I am. Jim runs Revision 3, and he really calls into question the validity of this survey and how the survey was. And I didn't know this at the time. The survey was actually run by the TV industry, and the small sampling, he goes and really cuts into their numbers here. So I'll have this shared up. You guys can read it, and I think he's got some good points. So I think what he's basically saying is, how from last year to this year did the number of people that would be willing to give up their television connection in lieu of video on the internet go down by 3%. He said that's literally impossible if you really think about it. How many of you guys have heard about this chat roulette? Chatroulette.com. It's the weirdest thing. I played with it for about 5 minutes. It's bizarre. It's weird. I linked through probably 20 people, just and basically what it is you load the app, you press a button, and it connects you with somebody via video. I got a lot of guys that are just laying on beds, not doing anything. Thank goodness. But very weird. And talked to a couple of people. Someone said, I'm out here in Hawaii, and they were excited about that. Mostly people in the United States. But this web chat service called Chat Roulette is getting a lot of attention. Be aware. Not safe for work. Not safe when the kids are using this thing. Be very careful. And what I also noticed, too, what really made me nervous was I would load it, and I would see definitely someone that was underage, and immediately freaked me out. It's like, oh, click, reload. I didn't want to even talk to anyone that looked anywhere under 18. A lot of kids on this thing, and it's not cool. Really not. There's no restrictions. There's no registration process. So, you got kids playing on this thing, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. And when I saw a lot of young girls, and I think there was like 4 or 5 of the chat roulettes I reloaded, were actually, you could tell, teenagers. This is not good. It is not good at all. And I was really a little bit disturbed about it. Teenagers will do what they will do. And weirdos out there will do what they'll do. But making it easy for those two weirdo groups and teenagers to intersect is bad enough as it is, but this is poised for very bad things to come. And there's no recourse. There's no reporting. If a teenager sees something they shouldn't see, or someone's doing something weird, they really have no reporting thing on this. It's gross. And I don't know what it says about us. This is it's dangerous. It really is. And I can see law enforcement getting involved with this thing very quickly. What do you guys think about chat roulette? I really want to hear you guys' feedback on this. It really did disturb me. I read about it in the New York Times, went over and checked it out, and it just made me go, oh. I would not let my kids be on this. There's no way. Matter of fact, it's in the Macs. I've already got it blocked. So, what do you guys think? geeknews@gmail.com. How many of you expats, how many of you that listen, you've got listeners of the show listen from 161 countries, how many of you are using Hotspot Shield? I'd love to hear about your experience with Hotspot Shield. I've never heard about this service before, but apparently it's made big inroads. There's like 7 million monthly users. They're using it to bypass restrictions in China, getting to websites where you can actually watch stuff like on Hulu and so forth. How many are you using Hotspot Shield? Love to hear from you. Really, really would. Any experience on that? And Andy Brown, I know you're in Shanghai. If you're listening to the show, buddy, you need to use Hotspot Shield. Let me know how it works out there and send me some feedback. Big news over the weekend was about the whiners that couldn't go to TED, and the talk about those that did, and a lot of the content that came out of TED. And, of course, TED is an event that it costs $6,000 to go to. They're already sold out for next year. And I was reading Robert Scoble's article. He was one of the 15 people that was invited as press, and his experience with there. And after reading Scoble's article, man, I'd like to save the $6K to go to a TED event in the future. It just sounds like a very good event, and he goes into why. I've heard a lot of bad things, and of course everyone that whines about can't going or not going. So, you got the person on Business Week, why I'm fed up with TED, and then you got Scoble's report on why TED was totally amazing and how he will try to go or get access to a video feed or whatever. And there is different ways you can access the TED content. But I heard it was just a truly amazing event and something to consider. I don't know if I could ever afford the $6K, but definitely would like to. Hey, Dave Weiner's got an article about the 20-minute rule. How many of you guys have rules on if you have a meeting with someone, how long you wait for them? And I've at times went to meetings and people have been just absolutely in Asia, depending on where you're at in Asia, 20 minutes is like they're on time. Actually, 2 hours late and you're on time. So these business rules don't apply to some places in Asia, but it drives me crazy. I do my best to always be on time to an event. If I'm not, I am very apologetic and but Dave says he waits 20 minutes. People don't show up. He leaves. So what do you guys do? What's your guys' rule of thumb? Love to hear it on that. And last article of tonight is folks, Ace Adults are over on his blog at weblog.mozillazine.org. Talks about how his Opera has shipped a beta with open video support. And, of course, the folks at Firefox and Mozilla Foundation are big on the OGG video format. And, I've been experimenting with OGG video, and it really is not that good as compared to H.264 video encoded. It's just not the same quality. But you can tell that ASA is drinking the Kool-Aid and trying to force the open video standard with OGG as part of an HTML5 standard. And I understand that, but there's got to be something better, a better quality. The OGG is, while it's great, it's open, it is not a very high quality codec. That's for sure. All right, anyway, let me go ahead and get right into the voicemail. I'm going to be long here. Let me go ahead and bust into that right now, and then we'll come back to the email comments. Again, if you have comments on tonight's show, 619-342-7365.
Hi, Todd. This is Tony Hill from Terrigal down in Australia.
Hey, Tony.
I wanted to leave you a quick message thanking you for the iPad competition. I hope it went well for you. In fact, that was just one of the things I was curious about. Was it actually a good comp for you? Obviously, trying to get more people to follow you on Twitter and that sort of stuff. Was it? Did you see much uptake or much change in Twitter followers as a result of the competition? The guy that won it, I hope you enjoyed it. It should be a good appliance. So just after a bit of feedback on whether it worked for you. Probably the second thing is being a big Google fan and fan of the Google apps, I hadn't really heard much comment from you about the Nexus 1. Just after your opinion. Obviously you're using the iPhone at the moment, but just after your opinion about the Nexus 1 and whether that's something you think you might head to, and or if not, why not? So, anyway, keep up the good work. Again, we'll talk to you again soon. Cheers. Bye.
Hey, thanks for the call. And so far as the iPad event, really, the iPad event was for those that were listening to this show and that are on Twitter and were willing to make a tweet. It wasn't about gaining a massive number of new followers. That was not the goal. The goal more was to build awareness of our community and let people know that I was giving something away. Big Odie is on the chat right now in Ustream. Of course, it went great. He scored himself an iPad, and I think it went well. And we're going to do these types of things probably from quarter to quarter. We'll have an event. I do have some restrictions this year on how much we're going to give away as far as products and services that I actually pay for. We're going to be giving away a bunch of stuff that has been donated to either Geek News Central as part of a product review and so forth. We'll be giving all that stuff away. But, it's just a little thing to give back, and I was glad to do it. So far as the Nexus 1, I haven't even held one. I haven't really even seen it yet. So I really don't have a lot to comment on the Nexus 1 until I can really play with one. I saw one. I saw another guy using it, but I really didn't get to touch it, feel it, play with it. I know a number of people have got them, but I guess I'll just wait until I can have some time with it. If anybody in the audience has got a Nexus 1, love to hear you guys' feedback on it. Maybe we can get some feedback in on what your experience with it is. geeknews@gmail.com, or of course you can call the voicemail hotline at 619-342-7365. Let me turn this audio down back here. Hang on. So the next thing up is emails, and we'll get through that real quick before I've already busted the timeout here. And as that's loading, let me look at the date. Okay. Got an email from Tracy, and Tracy says, "Hey Todd, I listened to all your podcasts, so I feel like we have this ongoing relationship, but of course you don't know me. So the reason I'm writing is because I have a web development company. I just launched TaskSquid.com, a unique and better way to manage tasks and projects, especially for distributed teams like yourself. I know that you really don't cover this stuff. I thought I would at least get your thoughts to see if you and your team would benefit from it. TaskSquid.com," and she gave me an invite code. I don't know if we can get any more for the listening audience. If we can, if you guys want one at TaskSquid.com, if you want to invite, email me. I'll see if Tracy can hook us up. But anyway, I thought I would just share this with it. I haven't had a chance to look at it. But Tracy, thanks for that. And if you want to offer some of these up to the audience members, send me some. Actually, can I use this code to share with the folks? Let me know about that. And I'll give it a run for its money, but we'll take a look at it. Got an email from Thomas. He said, hey, Todd, I was just listening to your latest podcast, and I thought I would chime in on your ebook questions. First of all, I have 4 ebook readers devices I use. They are the Tungsten E2, eBook Wise 1150, the Book N SciBook, and the Aztec Easy Reader Pro. I like Aztec products, Thomas. You have to tell me how you like the Aztec one. With 4 devices, I try to avoid buying ebooks with DRM restrictions. So now I buy my ebooks from fictionwise.com, which sells a lot of their books in multi-format form. When I buy a multi-format book for them, I can read those purchased books on all 4 readers that I own. The multi-format books are not the newest or most well known, but I like being able to put them on any e-reader that I own, rather than being locked into one type of ebook format type that only works on one reader. Since I have so many readers, I can usually buy newer popular books that are not multi-format as well, that use DRM and lock it to one reader if need be. Also, the Easy Reader Pro reads about 20 types of files, I think, so I can go. It gives me a whole bunch of links here to archive.org, freeebooks.net, scribe.com, ebook.com.au, manybooks.net, planetbook.com, feedbooks.com, as well as Gutenberg.org. All of the above links have free books, and probably other such sites I forgot that but I don't want you to overload with links, Tom. I'll share all these links with you so you guys can have access to those. Tom, thanks for that email. That's a great one. And which of those 4 ebooks do you like the best? Got an email from Keith. What more privacy fun? And this article, it says this Lauren Weinstein was on Coast to Coast last night. She is a brilliant computer guy, has direct contact with Microsoft. Do not take the automatic update from Microsoft known as KB971003. It has to do with Microsoft's push on anti-privacy to see if your Windows is genuine or a privacy copy. You never know for sure when your license may or may not be scheduled to run out. Okay, basically this was this individual is recommending that you don't. Remember we talked about the new Windows Genuine Advantage application that's coming out. I guess it's going to be distributed as KB971033, and this individual is recommending that you don't take that. I have a link up to the blog entry on this. I'll read this before I share it up in the show notes. But we already guys' take on that, and I'll do some more research on it as well. Got an email from Trucker Tom. Feds push for tracking cell phones. We talked about that in the last show. Thanks, Tom, for that link. Have that link up in the show notes. Got an email from Ron. Hey, Todd, it seems to be that the iPad will not include iBook app when sold in France because of copyright issue. iPad owners will probably be able to download the application from the App Store, though. So that's interesting for those of you that listen from France. Got an email from Jeff saying, great read on why Apple avoids the enterprise market like the plague. And this is over actually an article that was on Slashdot, so I have that up. And that's it. That's it for emails tonight. geeknews@gmail.com, voicemail hotline at +1 619 342 Appreciate y'all hanging out with me here on Ustream. I'll be, as soon as I stop the recording, I'll be actually up for a little while longer. If you guys want to call into the actual Ohanasaurus, we'll make that open and available. For those of you new on Ustream hanging out with me, I appreciate it for you guys to hang out. This show's recorded every Monday and Thursday. Primarily, we do it usually Hawaiian Standard Time around 8 p.m. my time, which is Pacific about 11 or 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. So usually everyone's either in bed or watching TV by that point. But feel free to join me here either Monday and Thursday night. Again, Thursday's show will be in Texas. So we'll be doing a live event there probably around 8 p.m. I think Central Standard, actually Mountain. I don't know what time zone Texas is in. Isn't that horrible? Probably Mountain Time, somewhere around there. Anyway, just watch Twitter. We'll be announcing that on online. And then I'll be back here in the studio the following week. But again, email is geeknews@gmail.com. Voicemail hotline is +1 619 342 7365. And whoever the jokester is that ordered the pizza, shame on you. And didn't need the pizza. If you pay for it, I'll eat it. Everyone take care. And until next time, aloha.